The colony of Nereus Prime glimmered like a jewel in the endless darkness of space. Human settlers had lived there for decades, building a community of glass towers, gardens, and open plazas, far from Earth, yet very much a part of its spirit. Children played in the streets, merchants sold goods in crowded markets, and scholars taught the next generation about the stars and the planets beyond. Life had grown calm, almost routine, but peace, the humans learned, was always fragile. Among the colony's residents was a child named Leora. She had bright eyes and an insatiable curiosity that led her to wander farther than most kids dared. She loved the stories her grandfather told her about Earth, about humans exploring the stars, facing dangers and never giving up. Leora had dreams of being an explorer herself one day, charting unknown worlds and discovering secrets hidden among the stars. On one crisp morning, she left the small dome where she lived with her parents and wandered toward the edge of the colony. The colony had always been careful to respect the territories of the native species, but trade disputes and occasional misunderstandings were common. The locals, tall, reptilian beings with eyes like molten gold, had always seemed distant, yet humans and aliens had learned to coexist. Or so everyone believed. That morning, a group of these aliens approached Leora. No one was nearby. Her laughter echoed across the empty streets, mixing with the soft wind that carried dust from the crystal plains. Suddenly, the aliens' intent changed. Words were exchanged in a harsh, guttural language. Leora did not understand, and before she could run, she was struck. The colony's surveillance cameras captured the entire moment, freezing her scream in the memory of the network. By the time the local authorities arrived, it was too late. Leora was gone. Her parents were left in disbelief, their cries filling the air as neighbors rushed to comfort them. The aliens responsible vanished, retreating into the untamed lands beyond the colony, leaving behind fear and anger that would not easily fade. The news traveled fast, faster than the speed of most messages sent across the interstellar communication network. Within hours, Earth had received full video feeds and reports of the attack. Millions of humans stopped what they were doing, staring in horror at the images of the child who had walked, laughed, and dreamed moments before her life was taken. In the halls of Earth's government, the atmosphere was tense. Leaders and advisors convened emergency meetings, their faces lit by the soft glow of holographic screens. Earth had always prided itself on caution and diplomacy, striving to maintain peace among the stars. But this incident was different. This was not a political dispute or a border disagreement. This was an innocent human child, a symbol of humanity's future, murdered. President Leanne Caro of Earth spoke to the council. Her voice was steady but heavy with emotion. We cannot allow this act to go unanswered. Humanity has always sought peace, but we will defend our own. Leora's life represents every child, every human being who dares to dream in this galaxy. We must act, not with blind rage, but with precision and resolve. Scientists, military strategists, and diplomats worked side by side. They began planning not just a response, but a campaign that would ensure such an atrocity could never happen again. Every report was analyzed, every piece of footage examined. They studied the alien species' culture, technology, and history. Humans were known for their ability to adapt, to see solutions where others saw obstacles, and now that ingenuity was focused on protection and, if necessary, punishment. Meanwhile, across Nereus Prime, grief and fear took hold. Parents held their children closer. Teachers spoke in hushed tones about safety. The colony's governor addressed the citizens. "We will not allow fear to control us," he said. "We will remember Leora in our hearts, but we will also ensure that our community is stronger, safer, and united. Earth stands with us." Across the galaxy, humans in other colonies watched closely. They felt the anger and sorrow as keenly as those on Nereus Prime. For many, Leora's death was personal. It was a reminder that no matter how far humans traveled, they were never completely safe. And yet, alongside fear, there was a stirring of determination. Humanity had always faced threats. They had survived the harsh conditions of their home planet, ventured into the stars, and overcome impossible odds. This, they understood, was no different. The first actions were subtle. Earth increased the security of every colony. Advanced drones were deployed to patrol streets and skies. Defense systems that had once been theoretical were now active, standing vigilant over human settlements. Military ships moved quietly through orbit, their presence unseen but felt. Humanity's reach, once limited by distance, was now precise and immediate. But the humans did more than protect. They prepared. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to upgrade ships, weapons, and communication systems. They developed autonomous systems that could operate in extreme environments, ensuring that human forces could strike anywhere if needed. But above all, they trained their people to think, to plan, to innovate. Earth knew that intelligence and creativity were humanity's greatest strengths, far beyond brute force. As Earth prepared, word of the attack spread to the alien species across the sector. Many had heard of humans, some with respect, some with fear, some with indifference. Now, they were beginning to understand something fundamental. Humans were not to be underestimated. Humans could forgive, but they did not forget. They could hesitate, but when forced, they could act with relentless determination. In the meantime, Nereus Prime mourned. Memorials were built for Leora, her small belongings placed in glass cases, her favorite books left open for visitors to see. Teachers spoke of her dreams and curiosity, reminding children that bravery and imagination were precious. And somewhere deep in the colony's communication networks, humans began recording every detail, ensuring that Leora's story, her life, and her death would not be forgotten. Then came the first message from Earth to the aggressor species. It was not a threat. It was not anger. It was clear, calm, and firm. Justice will be served. Humanity protects its own. The alien leaders laughed at first, dismissing the warning. Humans, they thought, were small and slow, reactive rather than proactive. They did not understand the resilience of the species they underestimated. They did not understand that humanity had faced extinction, natural disasters, and countless adversaries, and survived every time. Soon, however, the laughter faded. Across Nereus Prime, hidden cameras recorded the first human ships arriving in orbit, not to attack, but to observe. Each ship carried technology that the aliens could barely comprehend, weapons that were precise, and troops trained for both strategy and adaptation. Humanity's patience was not weakness, it was preparation. In private, Earth's leaders discussed the moral weight of what they were doing. They were clear that the campaign would be controlled, strategic, and just. They were not seeking to annihilate a species. They were seeking to protect humanity and deter any future attacks. But they also knew that humans could not ignore an atrocity like the one that had occurred. Leora's death demanded a response, not one born of blind rage, but of human ingenuity and resolve. The first part of the human campaign had begun, not on distant battlefields, but in the minds of planners, engineers, and citizens across Earth. Every calculation, every test, and every simulation prepared the species for a truth they had always known. When humans acted together, with purpose and creativity, there was almost nothing they could not achieve. And so, as the twin suns of Nereus Prime set on the horizon, painting the sky in orange and gold, the colony felt a mixture of grief and hope. Leora was gone, but her story had sparked something greater. Humanity, as always, would rise to the challenge. The universe had been warned. Earth does not forgive, Earth does not forget, and Earth protects its own. The spark of vengeance had been lit. And though it was only the beginning, the galaxy would soon see the full fire of human determination. The sun rose over Earth, casting golden light on cities that stretched farther than anyone could see. From orbit, satellites tracked every corner of the planet, scanning for any sign of unusual activity. But the most important preparations were not visible to the casual observer. Deep inside the strategic command centers, humans were moving with purpose, planning the next steps of a campaign that would shake the galaxy. The death of Leora had not been forgotten. It was not just a tragedy. It had become a symbol of humanity's vulnerability and humanity's strength. Earth's leaders understood that they could not rely on fear or diplomacy alone. They needed to act, and act decisively. President Leanne Caro stood in the central command room, surrounded by her advisors, military leaders, and scientists. Holographic displays hovered in the air, showing the colonies, the alien worlds, and the known movements of the aggressor species. Ships in orbit, drones in the skies, and human outposts across space were all represented with glowing icons. "This is not a war we choose lightly," President Caro said. Her voice was calm but firm. "But it is a war we cannot avoid. Our children, our families, and our colonies depend on us. The time to act is now." The plan was simple in principle but complex in execution. Humanity would mobilize not just for defense but for deterrence. They would show the galaxy that attacks on humans would be met with swift, precise, and unstoppable action, and they would do it in a way that reflected their greatest strength: intelligence, creativity, and unity. In the factories of Earth, ships were being retrofitted with the latest technology. Weapons systems that could adapt in real time, drones that could operate independently, and shields that could withstand alien energy blasts were being installed. Engineers worked around the clock, fueled by determination, pride, and the knowledge that their work would protect millions of lives. Across training grounds on every continent, human soldiers were preparing for a fight unlike any they had faced before. They learned to adapt to alien environments, to think creatively under pressure, and to act as part of a coordinated system. Simulation rooms recreated entire worlds, including the terrain, weather, and even the behavior of alien forces. Every human involved knew the stakes. Every human understood that failure was not an option. Even civilians played a role. Communication networks were updated to ensure every settlement could stay informed. Medical teams trained for interstellar emergencies. Scientists worked tirelessly to analyze alien technology, studying patterns and weaknesses. Humanity had always been resourceful, and now that resourcefulness was focused entirely on preparation. In orbit above Earth, the fleet began to assemble. Ships of every size moved into position, from small, fast interceptors to massive carriers loaded with troops, drones, and supplies. The alien species had underestimated humans before. They believed Earth was far away, slow to respond, and cautious to a fault. They did not understand that humanity's greatest power lay in its ability to organize, adapt, and innovate. Captain Raynal Cade commanded one of the largest carriers. He had served in Earth's fleet for decades, facing pirates, natural disasters in space, and hostile environments. But nothing had prepared him for this campaign. "This is more than just strategy," he said to his crew. "This is about protecting our people, our children, and our future. Every system we deploy, every maneuver we make, will show the galaxy what humans are capable of." Back on Earth, scientists unveiled the first generation of autonomous combat drones. These drones could fly through any environment, adapt to enemy attacks, and communicate with human pilots in real time. They were smaller than ships, but powerful, precise, and deadly. Engineers demonstrated them in simulations, watching as they outmaneuvered alien ships with intelligence and speed that no enemy could match. At the same time, diplomats were at work. Earth sent clear messages to neighboring species. Humans were ready to defend themselves, but they did not seek unnecessary conflict. Many allies, impressed by the response, pledged support. Some had been neutral or hesitant in the past, but now they realized that humanity's strength and determination were unmatched. Others, fearing human retribution, began to reconsider their alliances with the aggressor species. On Nereus Prime, the colony watched as Earth's actions began to take shape. Drones patrolled the streets, ships appeared in orbit, and communication systems ensured that no threat could approach unnoticed. The humans of Nereus Prime felt a mixture of awe and relief. For the first time, they understood the full power of Earth. What had once seemed distant, abstract, and slow-moving was now immediate, precise, and unstoppable. Meanwhile, Earth's strategists did not waste time. They studied the aggressor species' planets, fleets, and defenses. Every weak point was noted, every pattern was analyzed. Humans had faced challenges before that seemed impossible. They had crossed deserts, oceans, and mountains on their home planet. They had explored space, built colonies, and survived disasters that would have destroyed lesser civilizations. Now, that same ingenuity and resilience was being applied on a galactic scale. On the colonies, children still played, and parents still worried. But the fear that had gripped them began to transform into confidence. Humans were showing that they could act, protect, and prevail. Nereus Prime became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when united. The colony's leaders spoke to the people often, explaining the steps being taken to protect them, and the importance of every action being coordinated with Earth. The first phase of the campaign involved reconnaissance. Advanced human scouts, both drones and piloted craft, moved near the aggressor species' worlds. They observed, gathered intelligence, and prepared for the next stage. No human stepped recklessly into danger. Every move was deliberate, measured, and informed by data. The enemy could see some of these scouts and dismiss them at first. But humans had learned a lesson long ago. Appearances could be deceiving. As days passed, Earth's campaign took shape in layers. Defensive systems were active, offensive systems were ready, and communication networks ensured that every human force, no matter how far from home, could operate as a single, coordinated unit. Each ship, drone, and soldier was part of a vast network, capable of adapting to changing conditions. Humans were patient, but they were not idle. Captain Cade's fleet conducted exercises near the colonies. His crew practiced rapid deployment, strategic strikes, and adaptive maneuvers. Every drill reinforced a single truth. Humans did not fight only with strength. They fought with intelligence, creativity, and unity. The alien species may have had advanced technology, but humans had something just as powerful: the ability to think, adapt, and overcome any obstacle. At the same time, Earth's scientists developed new technology that could give humans an edge. Sensors that could detect hidden energy sources, shields that could deflect unknown weapons, and communication systems that could bypass interference were all tested and refined. Each advancement was shared with the colonies, ensuring that humans everywhere would benefit from the latest innovations. Meanwhile, the aggressor species began to notice the preparations. Some of their leaders realized that humans were unlike any enemy they had faced. They underestimated humans once, and it had cost them dearly. Now, they faced a species that could organize, innovate, and act with precision across light years. Fear began to spread among their ranks, a silent acknowledgement that humanity was not a force to be taken lightly. Back on Earth, President Caro addressed the people in a broadcast. Our children, our families, our future depend on our ability to act. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves. We do not seek revenge, but we will ensure that justice is served. Humanity has faced challenges before, and we have overcome them. Together, we will show the galaxy that Earth protects its own. Her words resonated across colonies, ships, and fleets. Humans everywhere understood the weight of what they were about to do, but they also understood the pride of being part of something greater. Every engineer, soldier, scientist, and civilian contributed to a single goal: to ensure that no child, no human, would ever be harmed without consequence again. As the first phase of mobilization ended, Earth's forces were ready. Ships moved quietly in the darkness. Drones patrolled the skies of colonies, and communication networks hummed with coordinated precision. Humans had prepared, adapted, and strengthened themselves. They were no longer passive observers in a galaxy filled with potential threats. They were active, vigilant, and unstoppable. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the colonies, the aggressor species realized too late that the humans they had dismissed as small and weak were now a force beyond imagination. Every calculation they had made, every assumption about Earth's caution, had been wrong. Humanity's patience had been preparation, and their resolve was absolute. As the sun set over Earth, painting the skies in shades of orange and gold, the planet stood ready. Humanity had taken its first steps toward justice, and the galaxy would soon see the strength, intelligence, and unity that made humans a species unlike any other. The spark that began with a tragedy on Nereus Prime had grown into a force ready to move across the stars. The campaign of protection, deterrence, and eventual retribution was underway. Humans had mobilized. Humans were prepared. And the universe would soon understand a simple truth. When Earth acts, it does so with purpose, precision, and unstoppable determination. The stars stretched endlessly before the fleet, a vast canvas of black dotted with distant suns. Captain Raynal Cade stood on the bridge of his carrier, his eyes fixed on the displays that showed the first human forces moving into position near the outer territories of the aggressor species. The campaign had begun. For years, humans had studied their enemies, understood their ships, their weapons, and even their thinking patterns. Now it was time to put that knowledge into action, but humans did not rush blindly. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver carefully planned. This was not a war of destruction. It was a war of precision and strategy. The first operation targeted a small forward base of the aggressor species. It was lightly defended but strategically important, controlling access to vital supply lines. The humans did not attack in overwhelming force. Instead, small squads of drones and specialized strike teams moved silently, avoiding detection until the last possible moment. Lieutenant Mara Ivers led one such strike team. She had trained for this mission for months, studying the terrain, enemy patterns, and potential surprises. Her team slipped through the shadows of the enemy base, using cloaking technology that made them nearly invisible. Drones flew ahead, scanning for traps and monitoring enemy movements. Then, with perfect timing, the operation began. Doors were sealed remotely, power grids disabled, and communication lines cut. The aggressor forces found themselves trapped, confused, and outmaneuvered. Mara's team moved quickly, capturing key control points while minimizing casualties. By the time the enemy realized what was happening, the base was under human control. The operation ended without a single human casualty. It was a statement. Humans could strike anywhere, anytime, and with unmatched precision. Across the galaxy, word of the victory spread. Allies watched with admiration and enemies with fear. Humanity was no longer a distant planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists monitored every development. Data from drones and strike teams flowed back in real time, feeding advanced AI systems that calculated the next moves. These systems suggested strategies that even the most experienced commanders would not have considered, combining logic, creativity, and a deep understanding of human capabilities. As the campaign continued, humans adapted to every challenge. In one operation, enemy ships tried to ambush a convoy of transport vessels. But human scouts had predicted the maneuver. Interceptors moved into position, guiding drones to disable the attackers' weapons, while human pilots executed maneuvers that forced the enemy into retreat. Captain Cade watched the engagement unfold on his display. He felt a surge of pride. Humans were not only surviving, they were thriving. Their ability to improvise, to adapt, and to act decisively was unmatched. Every success reinforced a single truth: humanity could overcome any obstacle, no matter how powerful or advanced. Across different fronts, similar operations took place. Humans used the environment to their advantage. In asteroid fields, drones disguised themselves as floating rocks, ambushing enemy ships that thought they were safe. On icy moons, strike teams moved silently across frozen plains, disabling outposts before reinforcements could arrive. Every operation showcased the ingenuity and determination of human forces. But the campaign was not only about military skill. Diplomacy continued alongside action. Humans offered terms to alien species willing to cooperate, providing aid, protection, and technology in exchange for alliances. Some refused, loyal to the aggressor species. Others chose to stand with humanity, impressed by the strength, fairness, and intelligence demonstrated by Earth's forces. The aggressor species began to realize the true danger they faced. Their previous assumption, that humans were slow, reactive, and cautious, had been entirely wrong. Humans were patient but relentless. They could wait, plan, and strike with unmatched precision. Every defeat shook the enemy's confidence, weakening morale and forcing them to rethink their strategies. On Nereus Prime, the human colony watched the campaign unfold with a mixture of awe and hope. Drones patrolled the skies, ships maintained orbital defense, and every citizen was aware that Earth's forces were fighting not just for them, but for all humans. Children, inspired by Leora's memory, spoke of bravery and ingenuity, dreaming of the day they might explore the stars themselves. One of the most daring operations took place near the aggressor species' central communications hub. This facility coordinated fleets and supply lines across multiple worlds. Capturing it would cripple their ability to respond effectively. A team led by Lieutenant Ivers infiltrated the planet using stealth transports that mimicked natural space debris. They landed under the cover of darkness, moving silently through alien terrain. Drones scouted ahead, mapping patrol routes and security systems. Human ingenuity shone as they bypassed energy barriers with devices that emitted precise counter frequencies, rendering defenses useless without alerting the enemy. Inside the facility, the team worked quickly. Terminals were hacked, communications jammed, and vital systems secured. Enemy forces tried to respond, but the humans were always one step ahead. By the time reinforcements arrived, the facility was under human control. The campaign had struck a decisive blow, and the aggressor species was left scrambling to recover. Captain Cade received word of the success. "This is what we trained for," he said quietly, a sense of pride in his voice. "This is human ingenuity at its finest. Every operation shows what we are capable of: adaptation, precision, and courage." Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Caro addressed the people once more. "Our forces have shown the galaxy what it means to protect our own. These victories are not just military, they are moral. They show that humans value life, yet will act decisively when threatened. Humanity will not be intimidated. Humanity will not falter." Even as humans advanced, they remained careful to limit unnecessary destruction. Civilian lives were spared whenever possible, and occupied territories were stabilized with aid and governance. The campaign was a statement. Humanity could win not just through strength, but through intelligence, fairness, and compassion. The aggressor species began to see cracks in their unity. Some leaders advocated surrender, realizing they could not match the humans' precision and adaptability. Others clung stubbornly to the hope that humans would eventually make mistakes. But humans rarely did. Their patience, planning, and creativity allowed them to anticipate nearly every move. Human ingenuity extended beyond tactics. Engineers developed new propulsion systems for faster fleet deployment. Scientists designed shields capable of withstanding energy attacks that had previously destroyed entire ships. Medical teams perfected procedures to treat injuries in zero gravity. Every innovation made the human campaign faster, safer, and more effective. As the campaign continued, alliances shifted. Neutral species that had once feared human power now sought cooperation, offering intelligence and support. Even some former allies of the aggressor species began to reconsider, impressed by the fairness and skill of human operations. Humanity's reputation grew not just as warriors, but as leaders, innovators, and protectors. The turning point came when humans executed a coordinated strike across multiple worlds simultaneously. Fleet formations moved with precision, drones disabled key defenses, and strike teams captured critical points before reinforcements could respond. The aggressor species was overwhelmed, unable to coordinate a coherent defense. Victory was not in brute force alone, it was in intelligence, planning, and adaptability. Captain Cade watched the final reports come in. "This is more than just a campaign," he said. "This is proof. Proof that humans can overcome impossible odds, protect their own, and inspire the galaxy. We are not just surviving, we are showing what humanity truly means." In the aftermath, humans established control over the newly captured systems, ensuring stability and security. They offered terms to those who surrendered, combining firmness with fairness. It was a message to the entire galaxy: humanity protects its own, but also values life and justice. Back on Nereus Prime, memorials for Leora and other victims were updated, now symbols of human resilience and determination. Citizens understood that every victory in space was tied to the protection of children, families, and communities. Humans were not just soldiers, they were guardians, innovators, and thinkers who could shape the fate of the galaxy. President Caro addressed Earth one final time in this phase of the campaign. We began this journey to protect the innocent. We have shown what humans can do when united, intelligent, and determined. The galaxy now knows that Earth does not forgive attacks on its people, but it also knows that humans act with wisdom, strategy, and moral clarity. This is our strength, and it will guide us in every challenge ahead. As night fell on Earth, the stars above seemed brighter, almost alive with human activity. Fleets patrolled, drones observed, and human minds worked tirelessly to anticipate the next move. Humanity's first full campaign was a success, not only in tactical victories but in proving that intelligence, creativity, and unity could achieve what brute force alone could not. The spark of vengeance that began with a tragedy on Nereus Prime had become a controlled, unstoppable force. The galaxy had witnessed the first signs of humanity's true power, and it would never be the same again. The campaign had begun in earnest, and humans were just getting started. Every victory, every innovation, every careful maneuver reinforced a single truth. Earth protects its own, and when humans act together, there is no force in the galaxy that can match their determination. And somewhere, in the dark reaches of enemy space, the aggressor species finally understood the reality of what they faced. Humans were not just fighters. They were thinkers, innovators, and a species that would never give up. They had underestimated humanity before. They would never do so again. The final phase of the campaign began as human fleets approached the homeworld of the aggressor species. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful, a mix of green valleys, silver cities, and swirling oceans. But humans knew better. Beneath the calm surface lay the forces that had taken Leora's life and threatened countless other humans. Captain Raynal Cade stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the viewports. His crew moved with quiet precision, checking systems, confirming coordinates, and preparing for the operation that would determine the outcome of the campaign. This was the moment when human intelligence, ingenuity, and courage would be tested against a species that had underestimated them at every turn. President Leanne Caro addressed the fleet through a secure channel. Her words were calm, firm, and full of authority. "We do not seek vengeance for its own sake," she said. "We act to protect our people, our colonies, and our children. We act to show the galaxy that humanity cannot be threatened without consequence. Today, we fight with honor, precision, and courage. Today, we prove what it means to be human." The fleet split into 3 groups: strike teams targeting key military installations, reconnaissance units scanning for hidden defenses, and the main fleet poised to block reinforcements or escape. Every movement was coordinated down to the smallest detail. Humans had learned to combine speed, strategy, and technology in ways that made them almost impossible to predict. On the planet's surface, the aggressor species scrambled to organize their defenses. They had seen humans strike across multiple systems before, but they had hoped the homeworld would remain untouchable. Now, facing the full force of Earth's fleet, they realized the mistake of underestimating humans once again. Panic spread among their ranks. Lieutenant Mara Ivers led a team of elite strike units that descended to the surface using stealth transports. Their objective was the central command facility that coordinated all military actions. The transports glided silently through the atmosphere, evading radar and defense drones. Human drones scouted ahead, identifying patrols, energy shields, and access points. The team landed near the facility under the cover of darkness. Using a combination of hacking tools and portable energy disruptors, they bypassed security measures that had been thought impenetrable. Every move was precise, calculated, and efficient. By the time enemy reinforcements arrived, Mara's team had control of the facility's main systems. Communications, power grids, and defense networks were under human command. Above the planet, the human fleet engaged the enemy ships that tried to intercept them. Unlike previous encounters, this battle was massive. Alien vessels moved in tight formations, firing energy weapons and launching missiles. But human forces had learned from every encounter, adapting faster than the enemy could react. Interceptors dodged attacks with agile maneuvers, drones disabled weapon systems, and the fleet coordinated attacks that left the enemy confused and outmatched. Captain Cade watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. "Humans do not fight blindly," he said to his crew. "We anticipate, adapt, and overcome. Every movement is calculated, every action has purpose. This is the strength of humanity." On the planet's surface, Mara's team faced pockets of resistance. Alien soldiers tried to reclaim control, but humans moved with speed and intelligence. Using non-lethal but highly effective tools, they neutralized enemies without unnecessary destruction. The goal was clear: disable the aggressor's ability to wage war while preserving as much life as possible. Humanity's ingenuity allowed them to accomplish both. The Central Command Facility was the key. Once it was under human control, the enemy's coordination collapsed. Orders from the top failed to reach field units. Reinforcements arrived too late. Ships were isolated, ground forces were confused, and the carefully constructed defenses fell one by one. Humanity's strategy had worked perfectly. In orbit, the main fleet blockaded the planet, ensuring no ships could escape. Humans were not acting out of hatred. They were demonstrating control, protection, and deterrence. Every move reinforced the message: attacks on humans have consequences, but humanity acts with intelligence and fairness. As the battle drew to a close, the leaders of the aggressor species realized they had no choice but to surrender. Their forces were scattered, command was lost, and the humans had proven their ability to adapt, innovate, and execute with precision. For the first time, they truly understood the meaning of Earth's campaign. Humans were not just fighters, they were thinkers, planners, and protectors of their own. Captain Cade received the surrender message and relayed it to Earth. "The campaign has reached its conclusion," he said. "The enemy recognizes our strength and has chosen to surrender. Humanity has prevailed without unnecessary loss of life, and our message is clear: Earth protects its own." On Earth, President Caro addressed the planet. Her words echoed across colonies and fleets alike. "Today, humanity has demonstrated its strength, intelligence, and unity. We have protected our people, restored peace, and ensured that no attack on our children will go unanswered. This is the power of Earth. This is the spirit of humanity." Back on Nereus Prime, the people celebrated cautiously. The fear that had gripped the colony was replaced by relief and pride. They had witnessed the reach and precision of Earth's forces, and they understood that humanity was capable of great protection and great ingenuity. Leora's memory, once a symbol of tragedy, became a symbol of human resilience and courage. The aftermath of the campaign was marked by rebuilding and diplomacy. Humans worked with former enemy territories to restore order, offering assistance, technology, and knowledge. Civilian populations were protected, and governance systems were established to prevent future conflict. The campaign was not only a military success, but also a demonstration of human fairness and wisdom. Across the galaxy, news of humanity's victory spread. Allies were impressed, former skeptics reconsidered, and even distant civilizations began to take note of Earth's strength. Humans had proven that they could protect their own, think strategically, and act with moral clarity. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species that could inspire fear, respect, and admiration all at once. Captain Cade reflected on the campaign as he looked out over the conquered planet. "This was never about hatred or revenge," he said quietly. "It was about protection, strategy, and proving what humans are capable of. We have shown that intelligence, creativity, and courage can overcome even the most formidable challenges." Lieutenant Ivers stood beside him. "We've proven more than just military skill," she said. "We've proven that humanity can protect its future, no matter the cost. We've shown that cleverness and determination can achieve what brute force alone cannot." The fleet remained in orbit for several days, overseeing the transition ensuring stability and monitoring for any signs of unrest. Humans did not act recklessly. Every decision was calculated to maintain control, protect lives, and solidify their message to the galaxy. Humanity's precision, adaptability, and intelligence had not only won battles, they had earned respect. On Earth, celebrations were muted but heartfelt. People gathered in parks, plazas, and city centers, honoring the bravery of those who had fought and remembering those who had been lost. Leora's name was spoken often, a reminder of why humanity acted, why they fought, and why they would always protect their own. In the colonies, the story was similar. Humans understood that their strength lay not only in weapons but in innovation, courage, and unity. Children listened to tales of the campaign, inspired to explore, create, and defend. Humanity's future had been safeguarded, and the galaxy had learned a vital truth. Humans were a force that could not be underestimated. As weeks turned into months, humans continued to strengthen their presence across the galaxy. Drones, fleets, and communication networks were maintained and improved. Allies were supported, neutral civilizations reassured, and former enemies integrated under careful guidance. Humanity's power was no longer theoretical. It was proven. Captain Cade looked out over the stars, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "This campaign has changed everything," he said. "The galaxy knows now that humans do not act recklessly, but when they must, they act decisively. We are not just survivors. We are protectors, thinkers, and innovators. The universe has seen what Earth can do." Lieutenant Ivers nodded. "And it will remember. Our strength is not in hatred or destruction. It is in intelligence, courage, and the unwavering will to protect what we love." In the final moments of the campaign, humanity reflected on the journey that had begun with a tragedy. Leora's death had sparked grief, but it had also ignited determination. The galaxy had witnessed not just the fury of humans, but their ingenuity, strategy, and moral clarity. Humans had defended their own, shown mercy when possible, and proven that intelligence could triumph over force. And somewhere in the stars, other civilizations took note. They learned that humans could not be underestimated. They learned that patience, strategy, and courage could overcome even the most advanced foes. They learned that when Earth acts to protect its own, it does so with precision, wisdom, and unstoppable determination. As the sun rose over Earth once more, casting golden light on cities, colonies, and fleets, the planet stood proud. Humanity had endured, adapted, and triumphed. The campaign was over, but the message remained clear. Earth protects its own, and the universe would never forget. The reckoning had come, and humanity had proven once and for all that they were a species unlike any other.